everyone, and welcome back to Around Our World in 80. I'm flying solo again, but we really wanted to bring you guys a blog that focused on one of our favorite places to go on a very regular basis, and that is the Fort Worth Zoo. We went last week and we were walking in and I said, I don't really know if there's like a really great guide to the Fort Worth Zoo, and it's probably not going to be very applicable or helpful for a lot of people that aren't local, but if you're visiting the DFW Metroplex, I actually think the Fort Worth Zoo is better than the Dallas Zoo. In fact, the Fort Worth Zoo was just named the 4th best zoo in the United States. And I actually found that really shocking. And they've actually moved up, because when we first started going a couple years ago, they were only the 5th best zoo in the United States. So they're doing a lot of really great work to make the zoo really incredible, to be very honest. And they have a lot of things in the works, which I will get to here in a little bit. So as just kind of an overview, the zoo is kind of shaped like I don't know, an L on its side. When you first enter the zoo, there's an indoor area where you can see a lot of the different types of monkeys they have, like the orangutans are in there, and there's a way for you to see the backside of the gorilla enclosure. If you go straight forward, on your right hand side is going to be the gorilla area, and they have a whole family there, including a little baby. His name is Gus, and he's one of our favorite things to see. In fact, when we actually leave the zoo, because you have to pass by the gorillas to leave the zoo, on the back side, not in the area where the interior enclosure is, but right before you turn the corner to exit the zoo, there's a little tiny window, and we love going to that window because Gus likes to hang out at that window and interact with the kids on the other side of the glass, and he's hilarious. And the kids get such a giggle out of seeing him and imitating him, and it's really, really fun. So typically what we do is we like to go right. That is where the brand new African Savannah area is. And it's basically, a field that has a circle path around it. So when you go up, you see all the animals all in the savannah together. So there's ostriches, there's giraffes. And what I love about this area is you can literally feed the giraffes. So you get a bunch load of lettuce. I think it's $6, and then if you're a member you get $1 off, but it's like a handful, and you can go feed the giraffes right there. There's several giraffes in their herd. One is only 2 months old right now, and they're so much fun, and Reagan, even if we're not feeding them on a particular trip, just loves standing there and watching them. So yeah, that's a highlight for sure. And then when you go around the backside, the other highlight of that area is the hippo area. You can actually see them underwater. Many times they're sleeping because they're hippos, but there's been a few times when we've gone down there and they're swimming, like they're doing laps. And in every different area, they actually have animal encounters, so to speak, and that's where one of the zookeepers is actually coming, and they're doing a feeding, and they talk about the animals. And if you go to the hippo one, I think it's in the afternoon, there's actually a specific area where they go feed them, so you can see them like open their mouths and see inside with all their teeth. It's really cool. Coming out of the savannah area, you're going to pass by the elephants. The elephants enclosure is one of my favorite places to go. There's a little area in the back where you can just sit and it's quiet. And that's where the elephants like to play. And we just love sitting on those benches and watching the elephants run around and have fun. And then if you go to the upper level of that area, that's where you're going to find your tigers. They have a white Siberian tiger along with a Malaysian tiger, I believe, and then right next to that are some hyenas. As you keep going, you're going to see the lions, you're going to see penguins, you're going to see kangaroos and sharks in the Australian area. And then as you go all the way back, it ends the upper section and it goes back down, and that's where you're going to find Texas Town. And this is one of the most unique things I've seen in a zoo that I remember, is that they actually have a whole area for local, I mean, Texas is big, but local animals. So when you first go in, you actually see like deer and a turkey and a fox, you know, like we wouldn't necessarily consider them exotic animals, but they're part of Texas and they're a part of the local, you know, ecosystem. And I think it's really amazing that they showcase that kind of stuff. And so as you go back into the Texas area, you're going to first hit like the piney woods and the swamps, and there you're going to see this ginormous alligator. You're also going to see river otters, which are so much fun. They have a bubble window, so it's actually like inset into the tank a little bit, so the kids can go in and they can see the river otters in basically a 360 view. And they're so much fun. They play so much. And they're just really adorable, to be very honest. And then right next to them is black bears, which are something that you do see in Texas. Not very often, but they do live here. So that's, honestly, they actually have a log where you can actually get in, and then it has two bar, you know, barriers. And I've actually seen before the bear get in on the other side of the log, and the kids like get really close, you know, to the bear. But like, it's really amazing. Like the way that they have the enclosures where they're safe, but you can still interact with the animals is unbelievable. Continuing on to like the hill country, you're gonna see pumas. Well, I think they're technically cougars, mountain lions. Then you're going to see jaguars, because jaguars, especially in southern Texas, they have historically been there. I know that they have been threatened, so it's an issue that they're working on in the Wildlife Conservation Project. They're off display right now, but you'll see coyotes, and then they have bald eagles, they have ocelots, just a lot of really interesting animals, and you see them and you're like, they live in Texas? Like, I didn't know that. It's really interesting and really cool to see that we have such a diverse group of animals living here in Texas. And then as you keep going, you're going to get to the desert area, which is where you're going to find a lot of the bats, specifically. And what's really cool about the bat enclosure is they actually have it indoors so they can cycle it. And during our day, they change the lights to make it the bats' night. So while we're visiting the zoo, the bats are flying around. That's really, really awesome. Then as you come back into Texas Town is kind of like the kids' play area. They're going to have some restaurants there and some gift shops. There's an ice cream shop. There's also a barn where kids can go play. It's actually like a playground. And then right at the entrance of Texas Town is the new petting area. They have a petting zoo where they have goats, and I think they're bringing donkeys in, like little miniature donkeys that you can pet. The kids get a kick out of those goats. The goats are probably traumatized, to be very honest, just with the amount of kids. But what's really cool in the way that they designed it is there's actually an area where the goats can go that kids cannot. And so if the goats are just done with all the kids, they can go back there and they're safe. Next to that, you can't actually pet them, but you can look at them. They have a baby calf, they have some pigs, they have another donkey, a larger donkey. So the kids can go and see those animals that would normally be on a farm, because most of these kids probably haven't been to a farm. And they get to learn about those animals and what they do and how they sound and stuff like that. Now on the lower side, so I mentioned that there's an upper side where you're going to see all the, the tigers and the penguins and the lions, but on the lower side, coming back towards the exit / entrance of the zoo, you're going to find two really, really cool things. One is called the MOLA, and that stands for the Museum of Living Art, and that is an area where they keep all the fish and the reptiles. And so you're gonna see Komodo dragons. The last time I was there was one like really moving towards a group of kids that were obviously standing on the other side of the window, but the kids were fascinated. They loved it. They have several fish tanks where they have turtles and stingrays and all different kinds of fish. And then you can actually go and you can touch a snake. They have obviously non-venomous snakes there with a zookeeper, and they can tell you more about the snake and where they live and what they eat and stuff like that. Also on that bottom area, and very new to the zoo, is Stingray Cove. And this is one of the most amazing experiences that I have. It's extremely simple. They have basically a ginormous pool, and it's underneath a huge tent. They have fans going through the entire area so it stays cool. But you go and you wash up to your elbows, and wash your hands up to your elbows. Make sure you take like jewelry and watches and stuff off. Make sure you don't have anything on your head that's going to fall in. But you can just pet the stingrays. It is an extra cost. I think it's like $4 a person, which $4 a person is not bad. But you can pet them and they feel so amazing. Like it's so unique the way they feel. It doesn't feel like a shark. It doesn't feel like a fish. They're like soft. But they have giant stingrays. They have little stingrays. They have it's a ginormous pool of stingrays, and I love stingrays. But you can feed them, and when you feed them, they actually take your picture with a special camera housing that has like half underwater and half above water, so they get a picture of you feeding the stingray. And these are probably some of my favorite photos of us. I know, it's not perfect. Like I look, like I just ran because I did, and Reagan's not really looking at the camera, but it was just such a cool experience. I can't explain it. And like I already mentioned, like you have these amazing interactions where it's safe and you can still get, up close with the animals and learn about them. And yeah, I can't stop talking about it. They also have a train. It goes from Texas Town to the entrance, and we did that the first time this last trip, and it was just really fun. And it's a fun way for the kids to travel, and it's again not very expensive. So those are just some other things that they have. Now they are like building and slightly expanding, but also renovating different parts of the park. Elephant Springs is coming next year, I believe, and they're expanding the entire elephant enclosure because they have a ginormous elephant herd, and it's also going to be where the Asian rhinos are going to live as well. And watching that construction, when we did the zoo run back in April, we got to run through that area, which by the way is another amazing part of the zoo, that they do a zoo run. You get to run through the zoo. But when we did that, we actually got to run through the construction area, and that place is going to be amazing. The footage you're seeing is from back in April. So yeah, I can't wait for Elephant Springs to open. I think it's going to be one of my favorite parts of the park. In 2022, they're redoing the Hunters of Africa section, and they're going to basically have all of the big cats, so your lions, your tigers, your jaguars, I think that's going to be a really interesting, and it's going to renovate the current area where the lions and tigers are. So if anything, if the African savanna tells us anything, this area of the zoo is going to be absolutely beautiful. To continue on that, they have plans for in 2025, they're going to have the Forest and Jungles area where they say they're going to bring okapi to the zoo, and the bongos are going to live there, and they're also going to have an enclosure for some of the monkeys in there, and I believe the orangutans will be relocated to that area. And again, if the African savanna and the current progress on Elephant Springs is any indication, these two areas are going to be absolutely beautiful. So to conclude, I wanted to just really talk about, if you haven't been able to see already why I love the zoo, is because there are so many things to do. When we go, we pop in for just like a couple of hours from the time it opens to Reagan's nap time, and we just pick one section to do while we're there. There's so much to do that we usually don't repeat a whole time. And membership is reasonably reasonably priced. I believe it was $50-something for a membership. So for two of us, adults, it's $100. If you're doing 52, it's $1 a week for a year, right? So if I went every week, which we pretty much go every other week on average, it's $2 a visit, every other week. So I feel good about spending $2 and being able to spend 2 hours at the zoo, and my kid loves it. I've already mentioned this, but the zoo is absolutely beautiful to walk around, and they have so many seating areas. So you can literally, I love to just sit and just draw animals. If it's Reagan's nap time and we're staying at the zoo for the entire day, I just love to sit and draw the animals while she's taking a nap and just watch them. That's one of the best ways to experience the zoo, in my opinion. Like I already mentioned, there are lots of great places to sit, and there's also a lot of shade. So even when you're visiting the animals, I know in Texas it gets hot, but they have shade and they have fans, so they try to keep the areas as cool as possible. So yeah, if you want to go to the Fort Worth Zoo, I highly suggest it. I mean, I've obviously talked on and on for like 20 minutes about it now. It's just a great place and such a invaluable thing to the Fort Worth area. It allows our kids to be interested in things. I mean, we've been practicing words and sounds with Reagan for the last few months with her at the zoo, and it provides just a really wonderful place to get away and have some fun. Well, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and we will see you guys next time. Bye!